Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we're going to be continuing our series of Is This Spirit for You? In this video, we're going to be focusing on Wounded Waters Bleeding. Now, Wounded Waters Bleeding is going to start with 2 presence in a land with Blight, and 2 presence and a Blight in the highest numbered land with towns. Now, this is interesting because Wounded Waters Bleeding is going to be the very first spirit in the game that starts with 4 presence on the board. Looking at additional setup rules, we're going to be starting with 4 uniques and 4 energy. Another unique attribute, Wounded Waters is going to be starting the game with 4, and there's a couple other spirits that start with energy. Hearth Vigil is another one, and Keeper, the Aspect Keeper also starts with energy. Wounded Waters is also going to have 4 healing cards. Now let's look at the playstyle. It says that it starts off wounded, losing presence or power cards every turn, heals over the course of the game, finding a new nature, while some choices may be a touch better or worse due to adversary power cards, stuff like that. Most combinations are viable in most games. It benefits from careful presence placement, both due to losing presence and because some of its unique powers must target from a land with Blight. And it is a high complexity spirit. Looking at the summary of powers here, it has pretty high offense, a lot of control, a little bit of fear, less defense, less utility, and it is a beast and disease user. Now there is a note here that it says that the summary of powers can radically change over the course of the game, and this is due to how Wounded Waters heals. And I do think that these bars are a little bit exaggerated. I think the fear I think it's maybe the fear's about right, but I find this spirit to generate quite very little amount of fear. Defense I think is non-existent. I don't even know why it has a defense bar. And then the utility I think is a lot less than what's shown here. But okay, let's flip the board over. And the special rule, it says seeking a path towards healing. It says after playing cards each spirit phase, you claim a healing marker. It will match either water or animal, depending on whatever you have more of. You may claim a healing card if you meet its requirements, and the requirements are listed below on each of the healing markers or healing cards. You're going to have 2 cards that will heal a special rule, and 2 healing cards that you will heal for a new innate. And the special rule you'll get on turn 3, and the new innate you'll get on turn 5. So that's the first 2 bullet points. And looking at the final bullet point, it says, then destroy a presence or forget a power card every turn. So this is going to occur until you reach that turn 5 healing. So you're going to either forget 4 power cards or destroy 4 presence. And this is supposed to thematically represent the spirit starting off the game injured, and then as you progress, you heal them, and thematically you become much stronger and kill the invaders. Looking at the growth options here, we are a 0-1-1, which means we're going to be growing the least. Now, fortunately, we're going to start with those 4 presents on the board, so our tracks are going to be fairly condensed. Our first growth option is a reclaim, power card gain, and an energy. Our second lets us gain a power card or gain a power card and place a presence. And our third growth option is you get to place a presence, gain a lot of energy, and then you can bring back one of your destroyed presence. Now it says specifically here that you're not allowed to choose your G3 until you have at least 1 healing card. Like I said earlier, we get our first healing card on turn 3, which means we're not allowed to choose our G3 until the earliest would be turn 4. Over here in the upper left, this is where you can put your claimed healing markers up on that side. Looking at the tracks here, we start off as a single track. We have this really cool gather 1 blight into one of your lands. This is very unique. No spirits has this. You then have 2 plays, 1 energy, and then you'll max out at 5 energy and 4 plays. You have a reclaim 1 on bottom track, and then you have extra flex elements for major powers. Now, before I dive into the innates, the cards, and the healing powers, I'm going to talk about how do you gain elemental markers. And I've already mentioned it earlier, but I want to kind of showcase what I'm talking about. So on turn 1, I'm going to choose a growth option. Let's say I choose G2. I place a presence. I then play a card. I'm going to play draw towards the water's edge. I'm going to choose my element. I'm going to choose water. And now I'm going to check, do I have more water or animal? In this case, I have more water. Therefore, I gain a water healing marker. And this is going to occur every turn for the first 5 turns. And then once you reach the requirements, you'll then gain one of the innates or one of the special rules or one of the innates here. And as you can see, Serene Waters requires 2 water and 3 total. Roiling requires 2 animal, 3 total. Renew requires 3 water, 5 total. And finally, Rune requires at least 3 animal and 5 total. If there's any questions you have regarding the healing process, leave comments at the end of the video. Looking at the innates, we have a left innate and a right innate. The left innate, this is basically our water innate. It's going to be more control-based, defensive-based. And the right innate is going to be our animal innate. This is our damage innate and focusing more on beasts. The left innate, it's a slow power, 1 range, target any land, pushing 2 explorers, Dahan or Blight. The second tier generates a fear, allows you to push towns, presence, and beasts. And finally, the final tier allows you to downgrade all buildings in a land where stuff was pushed to. Looking at the right innate, it's fear, damage, push Dahan, 1 damage, add a beast, and finally, 1 fear, 4 damage, and add a disease. Looking at our cards, we have Blood, Water, and Bloodlust. It's a 1 energy, slow power, fire, water animal. Slow power from a blighted land. And this is very cool. This is the first spirit that has this range targeting restriction. And this allows us to add a beast and a disease. Boon of Corrupted Blood. It's a 1 energy fast sunfire animal. Target a player, 1 damage and 1 of target spirit's lands. If you target another spirit in that land, also destroy a presence, do an extra damage, and gather a beast. So for 1 energy, if you target someone else, it's going to do 2 damage. Rack with Pain and Grief. It's a 1 energy slow water plant animal. It is 1 range from a blighted land. Target invaders, 2 fear, push 1 explorer and 1 town. And finally, we have Draw to the Water's Edge. It's a 1 energy fast sun water plant. It's a 0 range. Gather up to 2 towns from a single land. Now that we've covered the innates and the power cards, I want to point over here to the I guess the other side of the spirit board here where it has that disease, and it says that Wounded Waters uses disease, and when it says uses, it places disease, but it actually has no interaction with disease. So it's not like your abilities are going to interact with disease the way that Vengeance does, where you can skip lands or push disease moving invaders or use disease to cause damage. It has none of that effect. All it does is it just places disease on the board. Okay, let's look at the 2 ways of healing. We have Serene Waters and Rolling Waters. Serene says, when your powers move any number of invaders into your lands, you may downgrade one of those invaders. When your powers add or move any number of Dahan into one of your lands, you may downgrade 1 invader there. You claim this when you have 2 water healing markers and 3 total healing markers. And as you can imagine, this is going to combo very well with your left innate or with Draw to the Water's Edge, because now you're going to be pushing these explorers and causing downgrades. Looking at the right innate Rolling Waters, it says when your powers add or move beasts into a land, you may do 1 damage there per added or moved beast. Now, if you look across all of your innates or your special innates, your innates, and your power cards, you only can ever move or add a single beast at a time. Now this is going to give us a ton of value if you're moving or adding multiple beasts. So cards like Tiger's Hunting or Insatiable Hunger, that's when you're going to get that extra bonus because it says per added. It also says when your powers add or move any number of Dahan into a land, you may do 1 damage there. So that animal innate is focusing more on damage, while the water innate is more about downgrading. Looking at the innates, we have Water's Renew. It's It's a fast power, one energy, or fast power, one range, one water, gather up to two Dahan. Then you have defend three downgrade. You have a beast add, and also if you have two Dahan, replace an invader with a Dahan. And as you can imagine, if you're comboing Waters Renew with Serene, you're going to be able to gather those Dahan into a land and causing a downgrade due to Serene. Looking at Water's Taste of Rune, it is a fast power, one range, gather a beast, two fear if invaders are present, and then you have a one explorer and one town slash Dahan do damage to other invaders, and then for each beast push one explorer and one town slash Dahan. So naturally, these two healing cards are going to combo, and these two are going to combo. Now you could mix and match the healing cards, but I personally find that to just be a little bit on the weaker end. Overall, Wounded Waters is going to be a spirit for a player that wants a set path and diverges in that mid late game. Your first couple turns with Wounded Waters are going to feel the same all the time. There's very little diversity because you're always placing presence along a single track and you're always taking the same growth option. But the amount of choices opens up in that mid late game as you have different choices and ways to heal. This is a spirit that's going to focus mostly on control and offense and has very little defense and very little utility overall. Now, you can generate a lot of fear based on if you go the animal version, but if you go the water version, Serene Renew, this thing practically generates zero fear. If you like this video, like, subscribe for more content. I'll be doing more Wounded Waters videos in the future, and I can't wait to show you guys.